Hi, my name is Jonathan Hicks. I'm back at the Dice Cup, and this evening I'm joined by
Alistair.
Amy.
Steve.
and we've just been playing Keyforge. In fact, there's been a pre-release event happening this weekend. But let me just briefly explain what Keyforge is. It's a little bit like Magic the Gathering, if you're familiar with that. So there's kind of two mages having it out against each other. And you have a hand of cards, and each of the cards are split into three houses. So for this particular deck, you can see the symbols at the top left here. I've got Shadows, Alien or Mars, I think this is, and Sanctum. In fact, you get a kind of character card for a particular deck. In this case, I was Mornate Spawn of Strongrime, and it shows you at the bottom, here we go, which of the three factions, if you like, it contains. And one of the interesting things about this game is that every deck is unique, so there are no two decks the same. So when you're playing against someone else, although they're only going to have three factions, you don't know necessarily what the cards are, because the cards are potentially going to be different. So on your turn, you're going to have hand cards, and you have to decide which cards to play, but you can only play cards from one particular faction. So I look here, and I've got quite a lot of these Shadow cards, these ones here, so it might be good to play Shadow. And so you then sort of decide to play them. So for example, this is an upgrade, and I already have a couple of cards out here, there's creatures that you're summoning, so I can attach this upgrade to this creature, and it means that when it reaps, I'll explain what that is in a second, it's going to do some damage. So that's one kind of card you can play. You can upgrade things. You can play creatures. When creatures come in, they start off tapped, and you have to wait until the end of your turn before they'll untap and do anything. You also have actions potentially. So I can play this action, and if my opponent has exactly one Ember, I get to steal it. What's Ember? Well, this is where you sort of keep it. And look, Steve has exactly one. That's great. So I get to steal the Ember, and it goes on here. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is forge keys. There are up to 3 keys you can try and forge here, and in order to forge a key, you can see you need 6 different Ember here. At the start of your turn, if you have 6 Ember, you kind of spend it, and then you get to forge a key. You can only do 1 key each round, but whoever forges 3 keys first is the winner. So you can't damage your opponent at all, you're just trying to get enough Ember to forge the keys. So playing something that gets you Ember is pretty important. So I can play this, as I say, and steal the Ember. It just goes into the discard pile because this is an action card. But notice this also has a couple of Ember at the top left. So any card you play with Ember here also means I gain Ember from there. Oh, this is great. So I get more Ember. Hopefully I'll be able to get up to 6. Now, I'd love to be able to play this card, but I can't because it's the wrong kind of faction. Yep, I'm playing Shadows cards, so I can only play Shadows cards. I've got another one here, though. This is an artifact, and there's a special place you can see here for artifacts. So again, it's going to come in tapped, and on the end of my turn it will refresh. And artifacts have different abilities. In this case, this one, I can sacrifice it to do 3 damage to a flank creature. When you play creatures, they have to go on one end or the other, and those are the flanks. So the ones in the middle have a certain amount of protection. But then once you've played your cards, you can activate your cards, or sort of use them. But again, although I'd like to use my Staunch Knight, I can't because he's the wrong faction. You can only play or activate cards of one faction. But my Magda the Rat card, I could activate. This creature I could attack with. So in fact, what I'm going to do is reap. She can either attack or reap, but if I reap like this, then I basically get to take another Ember. Remember, I needed 6. There we go, that's 6. And her special upgrade ability that applied means that when she reaps, she does 4 damage to a flank creature. So I'd sort of look at Steve's and say, oh, if I do 4 damage to this one, it's going to kill it. So let's kill that one. Alternatively, what happens to that one?
I gain 2 Ember when it's destroyed.
Oh no, that was a bad decision on my part. Alternatively, I could have attacked with this creature, and so let's say I decided to attack, and I've attacked it. Oh yeah, we can go with the same one again. That's probably a bad idea. This is both their attack and their health. So I will be doing 4 damage, which is enough to kill it, and it would do 2 damage back, which isn't enough to kill me. So I just put a couple of damage tokens on there. Thanks, Steve. And quite a lot of the cards have various abilities when you play them, or when they're destroyed, or when they go away, or things like this. So in this case, when I played this originally, I will have stolen 2 Ember. So you go back and forwards, taking turns, playing your cards. You draw back up to 6 at the start of each round. But one important thing is you can only forge the keys at the start of your turn. So you may have collected enough Ember to forge a key, but there are ways of stealing it off your opponent, so you have to kind of wait till it gets back to your turn and see if you've still got enough Ember to forge the key at the start. As I say, first to 3 keys wins. What do we think?
Well, I think it's a very fun, quick game. It's a lot back and forth goes on with this one, because it's a case of, like I say, you've always got to wait and see what your opponent does to you before you can actually forge a key. And there's a lot of design space in that one, because there are cards there which will be a case of they will stop an opponent forging a key or increase the cost of forging a key. So you can't just rely on just getting the 6 ember up. And also you have to remember that whilst you don't want your opponent to have a big board state, because of reaping will get more ember in, you need to keep reaping as well, because it's all about the ember. It's not about killing things in this game. Which is a it's a marked departure from Magic or pretty much any other kind of card games like this, where it normally is all about controlling the board state by just making sure you've got the damage. Damage, as Jonathan said at the start, it's not about damage race. It's really about an ember race.
Okay, Amy.
I really, really like this game. I play quite a few TCGs, and this has created its own kind of subgenre, I suppose, of not only being a unique card game where each deck is unique in its own right. Yeah, you might have duplicates of cards for other people, but your deck is your deck, and your Archon's name is going to be different to every other player on Earth. And it takes away that intimidating step of the deck kind of building stage of it, really, and having to make all that effort and spend lots of money maybe. And so this is a much less intimidating game to play. Alongside that, that brings along a really nice element of your opponents not knowing what you're going to throw at them, and vice versa. Whereas in other TCGs, if I see my opponent come along with an X kind of deck, I kind of know whether I'm going to win or lose potentially based on how my deck works with that one. And this completely obliterates that, and every time I sit down, I know I'm going to have a fun game where who knows what's going to happen.
Steve?
I think it's balanced. I think the intro decks are good against each other, and every deck I've played, it kind of feels like it's not like I'm crushing the other person or that I'm being crushed by it, and so on. There is a lot of skill in the game, although it doesn't look that, you know, obviously you've got to look at the draw effectively, but you're manipulating your cards in your hand. You're well, I've got 3 of this house. If I don't play them this turn and draw more, I'm going to have an even better turn later on. But if you just play every turn the house you've got most of in your hand, you're not actually using the creatures on the board. If I go play all my Martians, and then next turn I play all my shadow creatures, and then next turn I play my 3rd house, and I'm like, well, all those creatures I've previously played in the battlefield that didn't really do anything because they came and tapped, well, I kind of need to activate them, otherwise they're just sat there doing nothing, being picked off by my opponent. It's got 2 major strengths from other CCGs I can see. One, the uniqueness of the deck, and the fact is you're not building a deck, you're not spending cards, you're not doing that, you're not metagaming it. That kind of that puts it aside. It is a different enough game. It's not like a worse version of Magic or a worse version of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the other thing is there's no mana. So it fixes. There's a lot of people who say, "Oh, my deck didn't work because I didn't draw the mana I needed, or I drew too much mana or too much energy, or whatever the game is." So it fixes those 2 problems for me. There's clearly going to be some sort of like community behind this, playing regular games with lots of people attending an event, and it's that sort of game. It's not just a game like you're in a board game night, let's crack open and play a quick game of it. It's more like an evening by itself, a bit like X-Wing or a bit like Shadespire and stuff like that.
Rating?
It's not going to replace Magic for me, but I would happily play it. 7.5 out of 10.
Okay. Amy?
Yeah, again, probably won't replace Pokemon for me, but I'd go with a solid 9 out of 10 for me. I really, really like it.
Okay. Alston?
Yeah, like I say, it's a fantastic, fun game. It's definitely going to be more of a secondary card game, I'd say, because if you want the deck building, it's not going to replace that. But it's clearly an 8 out of 10 for me at the moment. Might go high, depends on what the organised play's like.
Okay. I think it's very well done. It's by the same designer as Magic the Gathering, and Steve was saying to me earlier, it's a bit like Magic the Gathering for casual Magic players. And I think that summarises it very well, because you don't have all the meta and the deck building and everything else, and some people aren't going to be interested in Keyforge because it doesn't have the deck building, but other people really are, because they're not that bothered about the deck building. They don't want to spend a fortune to buy all the sort of rare cards that they need to make the deck better. With this, you just buy a single, what's called an Archon deck, and that's all you use. You can never swap cards from one deck to another. It's a single deck by itself. All you can do is potentially buy another unique Archon deck. And so you can just sit down and play. It's very easy, but it does give you plenty to think about. There's lots of interesting decisions, as Steve was saying. A lot of the time on your turn, it's like, am I better playing maybe fewer cards to save up for a bigger turn next time? Some cards are better being saved. It's hard to know quite what to do, and so there is quite a bit of skill in terms of how you play the deck. I thought it was very good. It's not really my kind of game, but I think for what it is, it really does a good job. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. All right, thanks for watching. That was Keyforge.